I'm Philip Bluestein with the Bluestein Law Firm, and I want to welcome everybody to our latest edition of our Facebook Live series, Business Information Anyone Can Use. We're here today with Joyce Feustel, the owner of Boomer's Social Media Tutor. As you may know, the Bluestein Law Firm, we help physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals with build and protect their careers and practices. That includes everything from employment and contract matters to practice sales, purchases, and startups, as well as regulatory and licensing matters and comprehensive asset protection and estate planning strategies for our clients. So again, we're here this morning with Joyce Feustel, who is a social media tutor and expert. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Joyce?
Sure. So here's my background. I like to start out by saying I'm 69 years old, which is kind of an anomaly, I think, in my world. I got into social media myself almost 10 years ago with Facebook and LinkedIn, and on the encouragement of a manager, Phil, I actually opened up my own company, but 3 years after the idea. So I did some research myself, like this kind of research, to see where I should go and what would be a good audience for me. And what I've done for the last 5 years is to do tutoring of business owners, business professionals, people that want to understand how to use their social media better, in particular LinkedIn and Facebook. I also do group training. I work with people here locally throughout the Denver, Boulder metro area, as well as virtually. I just recently kind of moved over to Zoom from GoToMeeting. So that's my background. I actually had training way back when as an educator, and finally at 61 years old, when I got this idea from my manager, figured out what I could do when I grow up. So I can hardly go to sleep at night. I'm so excited to do this kind of work.
Well, good. So for our viewers and for you probably get this too. I know we hear so much about social media, and you want your business on social media, you want to use that as a marketing tool and various things. And I know personally, I get half a dozen or more emails a week from people purporting to be an expert in social media, and I'm sure many of them, and maybe most of them, are very good, although there are ones out there that may not be. But we get so much, we're flooded with that information, people using social media to get us to hire them to use social media. Where do we even start? I think that's probably the hardest thing. I would think is like, well, if you're not doing something, or even if you are and it's piecemeal, where do we start? So if you could address that would be great.
I think, for one thing, I'd be very wary of someone soliciting you for social media professional help through an email if you don't know this person.
Sure.
There's plenty of resources to go to within your, say, Jewish Chamber of Commerce, within the Boulder community here, to ask people, who would you recommend? Who do you work with? Because you could have someone come in, even at the very beginning, and help you do the research. Really start to say, well, where do I even start? Because people will say you should be on Snapchat and Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and all these different Twitter, more. But yet, does that make sense, especially for a healthcare professional? So I would be very wary of any solicitation. So the basic research, I think, to start with is to ask your patients. You ask your patients, what social media do you use? Do you use Facebook? Probably most, yes. Do you use Instagram? No, that could be a younger profile, would definitely say yes. Also, LinkedIn, they might not say LinkedIn, but yet for that professional referral, truly LinkedIn is bar none the best.
Okay.
So you got to think about your platform. The other, and your patients as well as your platform. Then the second part of research is to go to your competitors. Go to their websites, look for the widgets, go and look at their Facebook business page, their Instagram, their Twitter, whatever, and then see how they're using it in which platforms.
Okay. And then, so you start out by doing research, you try to figure out, and I imagine the strategies you're talking about, our clients tend to be our healthcare professionals, although we do have on our estate planning asset protection side, we work with other business owners. But I would imagine that would apply what you're saying is for not just for healthcare practices, but for most businesses that are seeking to use that. So what do we look for in a professional? And I understand what you're doing is you're helping people evaluate what they're currently doing,
right,
and where they can do that. You're not the person who's going to help them implement the strategy.
Correct, that is correct. I'm not going to go and manage their account for them. So when they're looking for a social media professional, do that with them, or at least even help create the initial strategy plan. I would get at least 3 recommendations from people who they've worked with, ideally in the field you're in. So if you're a dentist and you're looking for someone that knows about doing social media for a dentist, that's kind of specialized, but there still will be a variety of people. So ask them for that. Ask them for examples of their own work. I mean, look at all their own social media presence and see almost maybe anecdotally how you feel about that. But I would say definitely references, and what they might even do is do some sort of very brief strategy plan. I mean, like a financial advisor did that for us. So I can't speak for them. I also think that you kind of get what you pay for. And frankly, a lot of these folks, if they're going to start managing your account, you're going to talk minimum $500 a month, which probably most healthcare professionals could certainly budget.
Right.
But I'd want to see someone with a good track record
Sure.
of already doing other people's accounts.
So what would you say, I don't know if you can boil everything down to maybe, what would be the most important, or the couple most important things that people need to consider as they start to move forward with a social media strategy?
Well, I think just as we're getting close to wrapping up, first off, look to see who you have internally. Who do you have that you already are paying and can make those other duties as assigned? You have a team of internal people. Get a policy going early on so there's no surprises, because there have been horror stories on that one. Horror stories. And then see where that social media person can fit in, if at all. But I think that if you look at your in-house resources, you might be surprised how good some people could be just on their own. But I would get some professional guidance. I'd also think about where you already got content. Probably got a great website. Maybe somebody's even blogging. So look at your assets. Look at what you already got that out there that could be repurposed too, in terms of all these things you already have on board.
Okay, and again, the starting point with you, with somebody with your services, is really kind of evaluating initially where they are, and then from there taking that to somebody who will help them implement the strategy. And I'm with the Bluestein Law Firm, and we work with our healthcare professionals on a variety of issues. I think it's important to note from a healthcare standpoint, when you're engaging in social media, that it is very important, obviously, that you want to have a good evaluation of where you are, what you want to do, what that strategy is going to be, that you have somebody who will actually implement it, because you can evaluate it, but if you don't do anything, that's not going to get you anywhere. So you'll want to make sure that you're implementing it. But also on the healthcare standpoint, we would stress the importance of talking with your attorney, hopefully us. But before you start posting on social media, there are a lot of other concerns that people may not be thinking of, particularly in healthcare, when it comes to social media. There are a variety of things, and there are a number of horror stories, such as what's in the background. You have PHI, protected health information in the background, or is there a patient standing in the background? There are stark and anti-kickback, which are referral-based issues that, are you accidentally stepping over the line with your social media and not realizing it? In addition, the attitude that comes off in your social media, if you put something very flippant on Twitter, that may come back to haunt you. Admissions, you might be making admissions unintentionally, that come back to haunt you. You might say something about an employee, even if you don't mention them specifically by name, but you might be bringing legal considerations up that will come back to haunt you. And I can tell you, nobody really wants to be sitting on the stand in the middle of a trial and have to explain their social media to the jury. That is what we would call a bad day. So what we strongly recommend, you contact somebody, Joyce or somebody like her, to help you figure out your strategy before implementing something, and then contact your attorney, really, and make sure you're covering all your bases. And we're happy to meet with you. Call us, schedule an appointment, and we can discuss the whole thing. Thank you very much. I'm Philip Bluestein. This is Joyce Feustel.